All right, let us start our session today. Today is 107A session number, and today is 11th of June 2022. And today's topic has been requested by Hariom. Welcome, Kundan. Today's topic has been requested by Hariom. Based on that, we'll discuss primarily about ego. What are the different aspects of ego, how it plays in your life, and then how ego works, and then finally, pros and cons of the ego, and there is some spiritual techniques to control that. I think there was some internet issues, so that's why there was some pause. So it's now connect back. Welcome, Sashi.
Pranam Guruji.
Pranam.
Pranam.
Pranam, Sonika. Okay, in case this kind of, you see suddenly there is a little bit blank, that means there is some internet issue. That stay connected. It comes up automatically. I've just posted one message also in the WhatsApp group. All right. So let us continue about the topic, which is about the ego, how it functions. The ego is first is what is ego? Ego is the physical identity that we normally identify with self-I. Earlier session we have discussed about lower self and higher self. So ego in that sense is the lower self. Yeah. Which now the ego, in fact, it is not a bad word. It is, and the idea is ego is bad. That's not the right understanding, because everything has a purpose. Ego has a purpose. So today I will explain more about what is the purpose of the ego and how ego works, how it plays. Just by understanding that, we will be finding out how to go beyond, which is our spiritual journey, to go to a higher self. But today we'll not talk about that. We already spoken earlier about that. Welcome, Pinky.
Pranam Rajgidda.
Pranam. So today we'll talk about how ego operates, just for the understanding purposes, how it works, so that you can identify that how it plays in our life. So just to come back to the basics, the understanding ego is our local operating system, what we need to operate in the external world. We have taken birth in the physical body. We need to work here. We need to educate ourselves. We have to learn skills and gather knowledge, external knowledges, educate ourselves, develop skill set, the practices and all those kind of things. We have to plan for so-called our future, and or we have to choose a career or the education or what you like to do in the lives, where you like to stay, what we like to where I like to wear, where I like to eat, and all those kind of things, all the external things, what are the needed, that needs an operating system. And that operating system is ego. That is, identity is given so that we can operate in the external world. So in that sense, the science, what we know as science is all about gathering knowledge from the external world. And there, that to gather that knowledge, to understand the science on the mechanism of the world, our ego is our representative to go there. Representative is coming from the higher level, but that is so-called I that gets into this external world and gather knowledge and all those kind of things. So science is that sense is the understanding of the external world. So we know all the science, how it works, experimentation, this and exploring, discovery, and all those kind of tests and all these things. Those are the science aspects. It's fine. So to understand science, we need ego. Ego need to understand this too by the external means, getting input, reading books and experimentation and all these kind of things. It is coming from outside. Then over the period of time, what happens is that it is given as a local operating system. So I will come to that, how the ego operates. But first see what science says about the ego. The psychiatry or the human psychology, they have that big, chapter on ego. So that is to understand the ego scientific way. I'll touch upon that. I'm not expert into this, but I will just touch upon to give you the information that how the science has treated. This ego has been most significant one, has been called, Freud's personality theory, 1923. He has developed, Sigmund Freud. He has many other aspects. He's a great scientist and given us many, many aspects. So in this thing, he's just describing the human psyche or personality. It based on he says there are three things. One is called ID, and second one is called, I'll go into that, just touch upon each aspect. Second one is ego, and third one is superego. Okay. That is, I'm not talking about the spiritual knowledge. I'm talking about that what science says, how they deal with this. Yeah? The ID is, the ego is only the reality-based identity. You can say the so-called tip of the iceberg, but there is controlled by unconsciously. You have been governed by this ID and superego. Both are having their input, and the ego operates in the external world. ID works on the impulses. It is that the basic instinct. Instinctively, we have to just fight and flight and this kind of thing to sense the risk. And this is the ingredients coming from the ID part of ourselves. And also this this instinct, that ID, this does not, it needs the immediate gratification. Like it wants to have the pleasure now. Okay. So that aspects of us, which we are looking for immediate gratification. So we try to satisfy it ourselves. If we don't satisfy, we get angry or we get anxiety and all these kind of things. We fall into the negative. So this is how this ID works. It needs instant gratification. I want it now is now. Then in another thing is this basic, that this instinct, that ID doesn't have a sense of right and wrong. If you wanted to, have something, have some food, it will just go grab it and have it, whether it belongs to someone, whether it is called stealing and all that kind of things. The instinct doesn't operate there. So this is, I'm just giving what the science is. So this is understanding of the ID, which comes from the impulses, which automatically comes. And the ego is, it is a thinking mind. It is a reality based. It develops based on the inputs it is getting from the external world. So there it has that capacity not to react immediately to this kind of impulses, because it knows the consequence. If this go and stealing, it will get punished. So both information are available with ego. So in that sense, ego uses its intelligence to analyze before it takes action. Okay. Full how ego works, I will come later on. But just understanding this science, these three stages, what is explained by that the Freud's personality theory or human psyche. So ID and ego. So in Freud once mentioned that if the ID is the horse, ego is the horse rider. Like it try to get into control. Otherwise, it will be like a mad horse running here and there. So it is of no use. Only the rider can make horse to be a purposeful journey or something going towards what we need to be. Okay. So that is the thing. So I'll come back to the ego a little more detail. Superego, it has got it takes input from which is in the collective input it takes, like a society, the community, the religion, all this higher kind of values it gathers. That is a part of the ego which gathers the higher value. So man is a social animal. So you need to have that society inputs and all these cultural inputs and all those kind of things. So based on that, it has developed something which is called higher standards or ethics or higher goals for ourselves. So in that sense, whatever is coming, sense of achievement, sense of I want to more power, that's ambition, basically. Ambition comes from that. And also it has got a moral standards, like it has got the morality. Like this morality is to being the questioning whether there is any need for that, what is ego is putting in, or particularly the ID is throwing up. It wants to give that kind of the overall thing, that the counter balancing in that sense, so that you don't unnecessarily feel trapped into the lower issues. Lower issues means the petty matters, stealing something and all those things. No, stealing is not good and all this kind of thing. These things coming from our superego. Superego, basically, it is like it wants to supervise the overall activity of that the ID is doing. But however, the decision is taken by ego. How ego takes the decision, I will come back a little later. So this also, but superego is anyway, it is a part of the ego package. Don't confuse superego with spirituality or our higher self. Superego is not higher self. It is still ego. But only its operating field is just to move up. It has got that kind of the understanding, to delay gratification. He said it is not necessary. It tells that other parts of the ego is not necessary to gratify right now. Or it sets up the long-term goal rather than short-term satisfaction, pleasure. So those are the kind of aspects our superego plays here. So but anyway, ego takes the decision. They are not the if the ID is a crying baby, then the superego is the advisor, but they cannot take the action on their own. That ego takes. So ego is a tip of the iceberg, and both are in the unconscious state. Below, it has not come to the surface. unless until ego allows it to do that. So superego, if something has been our life we are following, which by the superego standards, if we can get this kind of achievements, the superego is expressed that by feeling proud. I'm proud of something. Yeah, so that is come from superego. But if that moral standard, whatever set ourselves by our superego, if that's not met, then our superego inject ourselves into feeling of guilt, shame, these kind of things, or the sense of failure. These are coming from the superego. So both, if it happens as per that standard, then feeling proud and the boosting the ego and I'm great type of stuff, or if it is not met, then this kind of things runs into our mind, that feeling the guilt, shame, inferior, not good enough, and this kind of stuff also coming from the superego. Okay, so this is the understanding of what science is. As I said, this is Freud's personality theory. So up to this, I think it is relatively clear what are the parts of the ego, how they play it. Okay, now let me come to how ego operates. Okay, those are the influencer of ego, or the elements of ego that I explained. How ego plays, those are the elements that play into that one. So if we make just a brief, if you wanted to understand, with the single words, then ID is instinct, ego is practicality, superego is morality. Okay, I repeat. The human psyche, the three parts is ID is based on instincts, ego is based on practicality, and superego is based on morality. So this is how it operates, the ego operates. Now, we'll go to the decision-making process. So everything it's taken in the external world, whatever we like to do, whatever action we are going to take, whatever we are going to say, any kind of activity, normally, it is coming from our ego. So any decision is made, that is coming from our ego. Whatever decision we make for ourselves, that is coming from our ego, because ego is our operating system. So how ego operates? The playing field of ego is mind. That is we can say, office. Ego's office is mind. So what it does, in the mind takes input from five senses. This is how our sensory organs are there. We can hear, we can see, we can taste, we can smell, we can feel. Okay, so the five senses gives input to the mind, and then mind is office. So those input have come. So then the intellect, what we have, intellect is also part of our ego. Is in the mind plane, the intellect come. It is a sense of discrimination. It analyzes that what is coming from these inputs in the mind. Same, it gives analysis, gives its own test results. Okay, that's what our intellect does. So it is silly, it is good. This kind of thing coming from our intellect. And there is another one aspect, that is our memory. Okay, memory has a data bank. All our external experiences are stored there. All means most of them. Something you may forget, but most of them in that it's stored in our memory. So memory brings the database and try to analyze the data, and analysis is done by intellect, but it supports that with the data. Like if something is saying it is good, then it brings up the memory. Yes, earlier also this kind of incident happened, say 5 times, and 4 times it was okay, 1 time not so good. That kind of data it gives. So what is the picture? In the mind, it's getting input from our 5 senses, external world. Okay. Then the intellect analyze it, then database supports it with the previous memory. And then accordingly, ego gives the final stamp on the decision. Ego is the approver. It approves, then decision is taken. Then we do and work accordingly. By explaining it takes long time, but this happens in a moment. As it is not the step-by-step process, and it doesn't take time. So this repeats everything we do. Suppose now I wanted to say drink some water. So the decision taking to water is approved by my ego, and then I'm taking the water. All these things happened in the what process I mentioned. Yeah. Here the input has come from my, like I'm feeling a little thirsty, or things get dried up. Then my eyes look at the water bottle, that input has come. It calculates, is it in the arm's length? Is it possible to dwell talking and taking the water? Those have been taken. Intelligence says, yes, it is possible, you can have it. Then memory bank says, did it before? And yes, and most of the time successful, taking the bottle and drinking water with the arm's length. Okay. Then ego approves it. Then I took the bottle and drink the water. This is, I'm just giving example, but this is how it works in our lives. This is how it takes the decision in our lives, based on what our ego takes the decision in our lives. So in this, up to here, is about the practicalities of the ego. And as I mentioned, that ego, we need ego because it is an operating system, operating in the external world. To do any work or any kind of planning or implementing what we are educated, like say my profession an engineer. So whatever I learned through engineering, I need my ego to implement that engineering things and plan in the project to be executed, how to execute and all. I need that ego to run that. Yeah. So this is how that ego works, and this is about the practicality part of that and which runs that. So up to here, this is what we explained is the ego and its utility and why it is installed by design. And when we now let me go into the little bit of spiritual aspect where to place the ego. So, okay, before we go to the spiritual part of it, then if you have any question regarding what I said so far, you can ask now. Practical part of the ego. Then I go to the putting ego in the bigger picture of our spiritual journey. So that is the second part which is coming. Third part rather, yeah. Any question on if any need understanding of whatever you said? I'm not asking any question. I'm not saying only this topic. Anything? Yes, Manali? Manali, go ahead.
Guruji, can you explain this superego with some example? I mean, this superego, I could not grasp it.
Okay, all right. See, superego is basically, it gets its input from the collective. It doesn't come from within. It takes the parameters like the social norms and our basically it is a reflection of our conditioning, social conditioning, educational conditioning, that kind of thing. The input it gets from the outside world. So it based on that, it creates a standard for us. Like I used to have a higher level of say religious follower, or socially have to be higher level, and Any other, like education wise, we want to get highly educated. The money wise, we wanted to get rich. These higher standards, that is controlled by superego. It takes a parameter that you need to achieve a certain level, and this is what it gives us ambition that comes from the superego. Finally, at the practical level, when it to be executed, ego takes the decision. But from where these ambitions are coming, that is coming from superego. Okay, so this is the element that decides about the superego, gives it to the thing, to our ego to get executed, setting standards, these kind of values. So those are coming from the superego. Okay.
Oh,
So Guruji, basically, superego is related to society.
Yes, collective. Yeah.
Collective will be that because we have to make a place for ourselves in the society. So we start boosting our own ego and try to live up to the expectations of the social norms or whatever. Would it be basically that?
It is no, only operating is not controlled by that. Simply operating. It is setting standards. Like you wanted to have a social higher level,
Yes.
You have to have a position in the society. That comes from there. Living in the society doesn't come from superego. That's come from ego. Okay. But ambitions, like you wanted to have a socially recognized, or you wanted to look for an award, or you wanted to have wanted to contest for president of Rotary Club. That kind of thing comes from superego. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other question on whatever I have explained so far?
Guruji, what is the physical location of ego? Is it in every cell of the body, or is it? How do we?
Yeah, that's a very good question. These are not physical. Okay. These aspects of that ID, ego, and superego, they are not physical. They are in the ID and superego. They are in our unconscious mind. So basically, these are all software. There is no hardware you can find there. And the ego is only come to the conscious level. Rest of them, they operate in the subconscious, not subconscious. It is actually unconscious state from where this comes. It crosses that subconscious and it goes further below because we are not aware. And that's why they don't come into the normal things. Only when they give their input to the ego, then only it is visible. Otherwise, it is never come into the picture. So it is about the human psyche, Harioma. So it is not something physical. It is not, let me rephrase it. It is not part of the brain which controls this. It's nothing to do with left brain, right brain, midbrain, front brain, or something like that. Yeah? This is unconscious level. It is coming and affecting us when we take some kind of decision, takes action, and that's how the ego plays. So it is human psychology, not about the brain activity. Okay. Any other question on this, whatever you explained so far? Okay. Now, let me go to how we place ego in our spiritual journey. As I explained, there is nothing wrong that ego, to have ego, we need ego to operate in the external world, to operate in the society, to get more education, work for living, or any other hobbies, and whatever, take care of family, all this kind of, we need that ego. Now, so what happens is that on our spiritual journey comes from to going inward, connect to our higher self or soul consciousness. In that path, it is going towards all the experiences happen when our mind is quietened. Mind is still. It is stillness of mind. Then only our higher opens up, the communication opens up, we get what our soul consciousness wants to tell us, we understand and listen. This aspect it is known whispers from beyond, like it is like a whispering sound. Sound is not a literal meaning. I'm saying that the message is coming like a whispering. But if your mind is chattering, too many thoughts, then you will not understand that. Another way of I explain that, like if there is any blackboard, some message is coming there, and blackboard is full of previously written things. Then if somebody write a new sentence, you will not be able to read it, because already there's full of junk there. You cannot read that. So first you need to clean the board or clean the slate so that you can get that message very clearly, so that you can question, then answer, and whatever the communication you can have based on the clean background. As the ego operates, its operating field is mind. Mind is always injected by thoughts. And these thoughts are the instrument of our ego. That's why it never stops, because ego doesn't want to, take a standby position unless at least have to. Always it is working, and then it injects some thoughts, and those thoughts leads to our emotion. Something we get emotional with those thoughts, and we take action, emotional action. So this is how our ego is controlling us. And it is meant to operate, but what happens is when it is not needed, then also it keep working. That is the issue. Sometime if you think now I don't need to go anywhere, plan anywhere, I need to take rest, so I need to go for my inner world. Still, without your permission, the thoughts will keep on coming. Hundreds and thousands of thoughts. These are called internal noise, because about 95%, if not more, of those thoughts having no use. Just a thought. What it does, it grudging something happened about the past, worry about the future. And keep on injecting those thoughts. What will happen to me, or we are grudging, and I didn't treat well, and why he or she said me so, मैंने उसका कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ा फिर भी मेरा कुछ, all this kind of thing. So they cheated me, and this I got, this fraud has been happened to me, and all these are the grudges about the past, or worry about the future, what will happen, and if this happens, so if I get sick, what will happen, and all these kind of things. Anyway, so these aspects, this relentless thoughts passing through our mind, that does not allow us to move forward spiritually. We cannot get the messages and guidance from our own higher self. So that is the first hindrance of the block during spiritual journey. We need to cross over. We need to silence our ego mind. That is a challenge. And that's why our meditation comes into the picture. Meditation is all about how to silence your mind, make your mind thoughtless. Why? Because then only we'll be able to grow into that. Then we can communicate guidance. Our soul is our inner guru. There cannot be any better guru than that. But how we can get a guidance if they keep on, getting the internal noise? Like my voice is coming to you. If there is so many other orchestra party playing band and the beagle and all these kind of things, will not be able to listen what I'm saying, right? That means those noise will not allow you to listen what you want to listen. Same there. Okay, we wanted to communicate with ourselves, as I said, it's a whispers from beyond. It's not in the physical world. To understand that, to get the message properly, our mind need to be silenced. Otherwise, it will keep on creating issues. I will not be able to listen. Yeah? So that is what we achieve by meditation. Yeah. Now, what happens is, so I'm not going to that, you all know. So it is about the spirituality is all about the exploring our inner world. Science is about exploring the external world where you need ego. The spirituality is all exploring your inner world. It is infinite. There, ego become a hindrance. So you need to silence the ego. But this is a very challenging situation because from the birth onwards, we have never been practicing this. We never know how it works. That's why the spiritual world doesn't exist because they never experienced. Why they never experienced? Because of the thoughts. Hundreds of thoughts, you never experience anything. How experience can happen? Not a single message you will understand if your mind is not quietened. That's why most of them, they don't believe it. There is something beyond that. It's okay. We need not to convince anyone. Convince is also mental activity. When that inner urge comes, they will find a way. There is a way how to get into that. Suppose somebody want to go to Antarctica. So if I really wish to, I will find a way how to go there. But it doesn't mean I cannot go there, does not mean that it doesn't exist. So definitely it exists. Whether I believe it or not doesn't matter. Same here. Anyway, so that's why on the spiritual journey, ego has been taken as a big stumble or obstacle to our spiritual journey. It is only for the inner journey. For external experiences, external living, we need ego. Yeah? So that's what I was in the beginning, I was saying, ego is not a bad word. Ego is needed, but understanding wise, it is for the external world. So what is the issue? Issue is when we need it, it is there, ego is there. When you don't need it, then also ego is there. That is the problem. Okay. Some guest has come here and you enjoyed the timing and all, then the guest is not going. You have to go and time to sleep, but the guest is not going. It becomes annoying. No? So that there is a time it has to live. Ego is not doing that. And that's what it creates issues when our spiritual journey starts. So first challenge you have to meet is to silence our ego mind, go to no thought zone so that we can open up that communication. So that is a different topic altogether. So this is the ego. So now let me tell you, I will show you some technique how to achieve that. How to say ego goodbye when on our spiritual thing, not goodbye permanently, for the time being. The guest, you said it is enough, you can leave now. I have to go, I have some other work to do. It's okay. We enjoyed, we need you. Again, I will come, call you, but not now. Okay. Those are the techniques we can use so that our spiritual journey, it opens up smoothly. There are some techniques, I will explain that separately, that Hariom has requested. I've shown this technique some time back, I think session number 6, when I used to give 5-6 minutes talk, not much technique, and then go to Kriya and meditation. But as Hariom has requested, I will explain you that now. But before that, let me finish this, the understanding part of it. So when we get this is spiritual that opens up, then how we take the decision then. Earlier I was taking the decision-making process is about that ego, the stamp it and all these kind of things. Now, when you are become spiritual, all the decisions coming from awareness, not mind. It comes from your soul consciousness and awareness takes over. And then what happens is this awareness has given guidance and understanding to the intellect. And then it operates, and that is how the decisions has been taken. Our intellect is put under control of our awareness. And that's how that all the decision, it is a momentary. Awareness is connected. It gives our intellect, it rather than using at an obstacle block, if you use it in your favor, like execution, like executives, then it will be easier to follow that path. You can live the life, all these things, decisions are taken, and it is as per the divine principles and guiding from the higher self. Okay, that's why it is made, not by ego. The stamp and seal of ego is not needed there. Awareness takes over, awareness interact directly with intellect, and then how it is, then decision has been taken. Okay. So this is about that, the how ego operates, and in absence of the ego, how the decisions are making when person gets spiritual, the connection established, broadband connection established, and that's still. All right. So now we'll go to the showing you the techniques, how to get out of the shackle of ego. Ego is very powerful. It doesn't want to leave you alone. Okay. Whenever that's why I'm giving example of that guest. Even if you giving all the signals that now it is time for you to leave, it is not leaving. You know. So it once it get hold of you, it will be still sitting on your head and try to do that to reduce that grip of the ego. But by the way, I'm not criticizing. Yeah. It is normal too, because we are from the childhood, so many conditions we operate through ego. It is difficult for us to get rid of the ego or come out of the ego. So the come out of the ego, there are some techniques I will show you. I cannot stand here. I'll just show you. I hope you will understand it. First technique is about, in the childhood, they give us to punishment, no? The kaan pakad ke khade ho jao type of thing, or murga bano, this kind of. You hope you understand what I mean. I don't think I have to explain too many. So it's on your own. So first thing is, this is an exercise. Tech is an exercise to reducing the grip of the ego. So first is you hold your ears like cross hands, and then do standing position, and then do sit up. Okay, just bend down, don't fall flat. Yeah, just go to the chair position and go stand again. Go to the chair position, stand again. So go down as much as you can, by fully supported by your legs and knees. You need to sit anywhere. And then again you stand up like this, up and down. But only difference between this punishment stuff and this one is, while you go down, you have to inhale. Okay, remember, when you get inhale, while inhaling you have to go down, and while exhaling you have to stand up. If you do normally, you will be other way around. If you go down, you will exhale. If you do normally, but make sure, be aware, when you are going down, you have to inhale. Exhale will automatically comes when somebody going down like that. Yeah. But we need to be aware. If you do this and then inhaling, go down and releasing up. Go down and releasing up. You can do it for few minutes. If you can, 3-4 minutes should be enough in a day. So that you have to do it alone. So normally I don't recommend to do it in the public places for obvious reasons. Where some people say, is it mad or what? So you do it in private, but you can practice this. So this will reduce your grip of your ego. This is number one. Another one called ego annihilation technique, like to annihilate the ego, to finally get rid of that ego. This will reduce reduce that the ego will not be able to control you much. The slowly grip will be loosened. But to annihilate the ego, to let the ego go, we have some kind of spiritual holistic exercise. We call it a gulping exercise. What is the gulping exercise? You sit down and then you put your right hand on your, close your nose. Basically, let me tell you, there are what are our external all the orifices that need to be closed. So nose closing by hand, mouth you can close yourself, eye you can close. We have to put anal lock, Ashwini Mudra. Okay, when you do it, you put anal lock there and hold it. And ear you cannot do anything, but if you close your nose particularly, the ear get automatically locked. So you need not to put another hand there. We have only, I'll tell you what to do. One hand is on your nose, you close it, eyes closed, mouth obviously will not be talking. Your chin should touch your chest. Closing it, I'm not closing it. If I close it, I cannot talk. Like that. And left hand on the back of your head and push it slowly. I'm just, no jag. Slowly try to push it, make sure it is touching. So this position, so I repeat, your sitting position, put anal lock, then close your nose with the right hand, and then close your eyes. You should not be talking. Ears will also be closed. Don't bother about the ear. They will close by themselves. When you do this, close your nose. And then you left hand, you little bit push your head so that his chin is touching the chest. Okay. In this position, you have to gulp. Like we drink water, that kind of gulping. So do as many gulp you can, because you will not be able to hold the breath. Take the breathing. So start with the 5 gulping. Then slowly you can increase it. As much as you do, it is better for you. So whoever is doing this, the spiritual masters and one, they can do more. Much they can do about 21 is not an issue. But you start with the smaller and slowly through practice you go high. So I will just demonstrate some of the things. So I will not be pushing my head like this, but I'll just counting. It shows that because I'll not be able to talk, I'll show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. Okay. All right. So I'll show how to do it. First pull anal lock. So Ashwini Mudra applied. Now I'll not be able to talk. Mouth closed, eyes closed. You'll be out of breath. So then just when you are feeling you're out of breath, slowly release it and come back to normal. Don't stretch too much. Okay. Because anyway you're not breathing, so you'll be red faces and things. It is not needed to go to that. By practice you can go there. I have done 15, but you can go more. Start with 5 or 7. But only thing is in that position. All right. So this is the ego annihilation techniques, or you can say the gulping exercise that you can do once in a day to reduce. As I said, you start with the minimum and as much as you want. Or if you want to do many times, you can do up to 3 times. Same repeated this exercise 3 times also you can do. No issues with that one. Okay. It will help you to annihilate your ego. Whatever the ego's interference, the declutching will happen. Ego's grip will be loosened so that you are free to move your spiritual journey. Okay. So this is the advantage of this particular technique. So with this, I conclude this learning session. So if you have any further question, you can ask now.
Guruji, in this, the analog is for the complete duration.
That's right. It will not take much time, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. But full, it's normally during Kriya, we just Oshani Mudra, we hold it and release it.
Right.
Yeah, but here you have to hold it.
Hold it.
As long as you are holding your nose, at the same time you have to put analog.
Okay. Guruji, just wanted to understand what is the logic. How does the ego get reduced by doing these two exercises? How does it affect actually?
Yeah. See, this ego, as I explained earlier, ego gets control by, I'm talking the second one now, the gulping exercise. We are getting input from these 5 senses, no? Okay. So we have to block the sensory inputs.
Okay.
And when you close your nose, then you will be like, forget about your intellect to come into play. You said, Kab isse chutkara mile. Like, because it is your, all this instinct thing, survival instinct will come dominating.
Correct.
Okay. So when people have a fear of death, they don't think anything. Yeah? So in this, by closing it, so you are creating an atmosphere where your inputs are closed and you are in the state where that ego says, I cannot control anymore.
Right, Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you.
It runs away. Yeah, this is our annihilation. But the other one, it is simply, this, your ego is always to be superior. Ego wants to superior.
Correct.
That superiority is challenged when you are basically giving this kind of punishment to you.
Okay.
The self-imposed punishment that you are giving so that the ego cannot deal with it anymore. Okay. So it loosens its grip.
But why that breathing in while we going down? What's the logic for that?
No, see, when we, because you need to break the pattern.
Okay.
Because your breathing is operated by your mind. You need to do the opposite so that it will again lose the control.
Right, Guruji.
Okay. See,
Right.
Suppose when our mind triggers something, we get agitated. Our breathing gets fast. If you reverse the breathing, if you intentionally sit and take a slow breathing, the tension will go because you change your breathing pattern.
Correct.
Okay, so that's why you have to do reverse. Whatever normally coming, that is controlled by ego. No? You have to do reverse so that it is getting the feeling of punishment. I am not the boss, I am getting punished. Okay.
Okay. Understood.
And also you reverse the breathing. So reversing the breathing will get that ego control out of you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
All right. God bless you. Any other question? All right. So let us get ready for our Kriya and meditation. So sit straight, spinal cord straight. And take a deep, slow breathing to relax ourselves. Just explained that if you just go ahead with the normal fast breathing, that the ego takes the control, but you want to get out of this ego control. Take a deep and slow breathing.